Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. This is going to be episode number 295. This is with Brendan Burns of KUIU Ultralight Hunting. And I want to remind you guys, if you happen to have missed episode 294, Brendan does a great job of breaking down North American wild sheep and the areas to hunt them, the states and provinces where these animals are located, the gear used is going to be covered in this episode, but he covers, the differences between Dall sheep, Fannin sheep, stone sheep, field judging all of the thin horns versus the big horns. He's talking about desert bighorn. He's talking about Rocky Mountain bighorn. And it's a great episode. So I remind you to check out episode 294. Brendan has harvested 8 rams himself. And he's going again here in a month or two. So he's got a lot of knowledge, and I know you're going to like this episode. We're going to talk about gear that he specifically uses on these sheep hunts. So this is going to be a great episode as well. I want to thank Brendan for coming on and sharing his expertise. Guys, I want to remind you that KUIU, the founder, Jason Harrison, on June the 8th is doing a KUIU live event on Facebook, and they are going to be, Jason is going to be asking or answering questions about the new summer releases. They're going to feature the 2017 backpack updates, Scarpa boots, Super Down Ultra, the rangefinder holder, and other innovative products that they've come out with. They're going to be announcing 3 lucky winners who stay tuned throughout the entire broadcast. They're going to be selected to win some great KUIU gear. You can go to KUIU.com to register for that event. I also want to remind you that the KUIU Mobile Showroom is going to be in Seattle, Washington this weekend, June 8th through the 10th, Spokane, Washington, June 15th through the 17th, Missoula, Montana, Boise, Idaho, Idaho Falls, Bozeman, Montana, July 13th through the 15th, Denver, Colorado, Colorado Springs, Omaha, Nebraska, Kansas City, Missouri, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Texas, August 24th through the 26th, Houston, Lubbock, Albuquerque, Grand Junction, Salt Lake City, Cedar City, Utah, Las Vegas, Phoenix, San Diego, Los Angeles, and closing out in Reno, Nevada, November 9th through the 11th. Make sure you go to KUIU.com to find out about the KUIU Mobile Showroom. Like you're going to hear from Brendan in this podcast, they have every size of every piece of gear that KUIU offers. So you can go and touch it, feel it, try it on, etc. Find out exactly what size, which garments, which pieces of gear, which packs, boots, etc. that you like the best, and you can actually make orders right there at the mobile showroom. So make sure to check them out. I want to thank KUIU for their support of this podcast and being a sponsor of the podcast. And I also want to thank GoHunt.com Insider. They're the title sponsor of this podcast, and remind you that you can use the J. Scott promo code when signing up for the Go Hunt Insider. You're going to get a $50 KUIU gift card automatically emailed to you. And Go Hunt Insider is an incredible resource for any hunter hunting in the western U.S. They break down draw odds, all sorts of statistics with every state and every draw. They've got gear giveaways, hunt giveaways. It's just a great resource. Also want to thank phonescope.com. If you use the JScott16 promo code, you're going to get a 10% discount on all PhoneScope products through the website. Also, Cody Nelson over at the Outdoorsman's in Phoenix, the Optics Authority. If you use the J. Scott promo code, you're going to get a 10% discount there on the Outdoorsman's products. So, guys, let's get right to this episode. If you want to send me a comment or an email, I appreciate all comments that I get, questions, what have you. You can do so at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. You can also please follow along on Instagram at jscottoutdoors, my YouTube channel, jscottoutdoors, my website, jscottoutdoors.com. And I appreciate hearing from each and every one of you. If you've got guests or topics that you want to hear on the podcast, please shoot me up a message. Direct message on Instagram is also a great way to get a hold of me. Also, guys, if you would please, if you're a regular listener of the podcast, if you'd give me a review on iTunes, a fair review, and some positive comments, that'd be great. It helps our placement. And just going to keep trying to bring great information throughout the summer here. And I love hearing from you guys. Let's get right to this episode with Brendan Burns. Let's talk about gear. Obviously, you work for KUIU Ultralight Hunting, and you guys, I mean, you and Jason go on a sheep hunt every single year, and I mean, the foundation of the company is built on sheep hunting. It's built on mountain hunting, and first question would be, is that the truth that KUIU is the foundation is built on you guys' personal hunts that you are going on? You guys are building gear for yourselves to go on, be better prepared and be in the backcountry longer and more comfortable. And I just want to get that whole vibe of, because I've gotten it from Jason before, but I'm curious from your perspective.
Yeah, it's what we love to do. I mean, Jason's philosophy at the beginning has always been, the less you have to carry, the more technical fabric you're using, the better the design, the lighter weight you are, the further you can go. It boils down to math. It's just, the more comfortable you can be with less, and not less as in having less, like the less you can carry by, using more technical fabrics, by, getting your system dialed more, by using lighter rain gear, lighter base layers, waterproof down, all that kind of stuff. Everything you take out of your pack is further you can go, more comfortable you can be on that hunt. I mean, the drive is always, to be able to produce the best gear that's going to keep you, warm, dry, comfortable, and the less you have to carry to wear you down on one of these long hunts. And everything we build is basically for these type of hunts. We go on one a year together, but we go on, 3 to 9 a year, depending on the year and how lucky you've been and stuff like that. That's what I really love to do. So, everything we do, whether we're testing, designing, is based on improving, performance and how you feel on those hunts.
Let's talk a little bit about your thin horn hunts, and those hunts are coming up here, this summer. And there's guys that listen to the podcast that definitely want to know kind of from the early season hunts moving into, the later season mountain, sheep hunts. Let's go over your gear list from start to finish, if you will. And at any given time when you're going through that list, if there's things that you have changed, maybe tell why you've specifically changed to that specific piece of gear, so that if guys are thinking, well, Brennan's taking this, but I wonder why, maybe if you could kind of just go through it and talk about if there's any transition from one piece to another, how that transition has occurred, or that learning curve of, oh crap, yeah, that's not going to work, that's why I switched to this.
Yeah, a lot of it in my gear list is personal preference too. Some of it, some guys, whether you like, sometimes I like merino, sometimes I like synthetic, sometimes I like backpack stuff, sometimes I like a little more durable. A lot of it depends on the hunt. How I set my kit up, it depends on where I'm going, the time of year, the location, temperature, the terrain, and the weather you can expect. Some areas you're going to live in your rain gear. Some areas it's pretty nice. And a lot, again, a lot of it boils down to personal preference. Again, I'm not a huge guy, so body type, weather tolerance all need to be factored in, and along with the advice you get from your outfitter says, hey, you need to bring this or that. So taking that all into account. The one thing, there really is no magic bullet. I mean, there's no this is the system I'm going to go over. This is what I prefer on a sheep hunt. But we get it all the time. Guys that call up like, hey, what's your best jacket? It's like, well, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, are you active? Are you sitting still? Are you carrying a backpack? Are you on your own? Is it a 3-day hunt? There's so many questions that, that's why the beauty of our system is that it allows a guy that runs hot. I know guys that sit in a tree stand, in 32 degrees in a t-shirt, and, me, I'd be freezing to death. And guys that, don't sweat that much, guys that are huge sweaters, guys, skin tolerance as far as, what you like to have in your base layer, how warm you need to be at night. Some guys sleep hot, cold, so there's a lot of things that come into play as far as your gear. And again, the only way you're going to know that is by getting out there and doing it. How do you want me to break it down, like top, bottom, pack kind of stuff, or?
Yep.
Yeah. So generally I'm just going to say that this, as a full backpack sheep hunt unsupported. So the list I'm going to go through is when you get dropped off or you hike in from somewhere, but you're not coming out for 10 days and you're unsupported, meaning you can't just pick up and walk 6 hours to the trailhead and walk out. I mean, that's the backcountry to me, or being remote is unsupported. Like, you're in there no matter what. So that's how I always go into these hunts. I prefer the Chugach rain gear. It's light. It's not quite as durable, obviously, as the Yukon, but that's the rain gear I like. Just for whatever reason, when I'm backpacking, that's my backpack rain gear. Anymore, I haven't taken soft shell that much. I like our Kenai hooded jacket. It's really breathable. You can hike in it while staying warm. It's a little more insulated than a soft shell. That's the one I like. My next layer is the Peloton 240 full zip. I like a hood, which kind of varies from year to year. Sometimes I like to take a hood, sometimes I don't. Lately, that's basically what I've been using. And then One question on
that, Brendan. What condition would make it where you said yes, I'm taking the hood, or no, I'm not taking the hood? Is there a wind factor, a rain factor? Like, what would say hood or no hood?
Yeah, kind of. If you could expect, you're going to get, you could get some bad weather for a long extended period of time, and I don't like to have too many hoods. Generally, it's like in that setup right there with the Chugach, Kenai, and the Peloton. That's 3 hoods. That's my max number of hoods. I'm out of hoods on that, and with the Peloton being a real small hood. Sometimes I do like to glass that hood up. It's pretty wind resistant. But yeah, that's kind of just a personal preference. I've taken both. I just tend to lean towards the hood. So base layer is one of those things. Some guys love synthetic. I prefer merino. The thinnest merino I can get are 125 merino. That's what I wear next on my base layer. I like the fact that I'm not going to smell horrible in 10 days. I like how it feels next to my skin. Merino doesn't dry as quick as some synthetics. It tends to pull the moisture off you and hold it in a little more. But when it's super thin like that, it dries pretty fast. So I prefer a merino base layer.
Long sleeve or short?
It depends on the hunt, but long sleeve most of the time. I take our Peloton 240 beanies, a ball cap, Peloton 240 beanie, guide glove, neck gaiter, generally our 200 neck gaiter if it's going to be colder, or the merino one if it's not. And then on upper, your bino system. I carry our large bino system. I'm running 10s that I can put on my tripod on most sheep hunts. I've carried 15s and 12s now, and so, at the end of the day, I prefer glassing sheep off a tripod, so I'm carrying 10s with a tripod mount.
Okay. One question I would have for you, well, go ahead and let's talk about your socks and your boots, and then I've got a couple questions for you.
So socks and boots, I run a little different system than a lot of guys. I like super thin socks. So our sock is pretty heavy. If you like a heavier sock, it's great. I take it when it's cold. We have some socks I'm working with now that are really thin. I wear 2 pairs of super thin socks, just what I've always done. I take a heavier pair for sleeping at night so I don't get cold. But I found two sets of merino socks prevent blisters in the type of boots that I wear. I'm wearing our Scarpa Rebel K. I've been wearing that, our new boot. It's I think the ultimate sheep hunting boot ever built. 700 grams, which it's basically 0.6 of a pound lighter to a pound lighter than most sheep hunting boots that have the same features, or alpineering or mountaineering boots or alpine boots that have the same features. It's fully synthetic, dries super fast. It's not as stiff as the boot that I was wearing before. I prefer a really, really stiff boot. This is a boot that a lot of guys are going to be able to break in and really like. It's not, mountaineering stiff, like totally as stiff as you can get it, which I actually prefer a really stiff boot, but that's the boot system I'm running right now, and I could not be happier with it. I think it's as good as it gets right now.
And you've been you were guinea pigging those all last season, right? I mean, you did a lot of your hunts in that Rebel. What is the Rebel K now?
Yep. Yeah, I've been running those since 2014. I started running the Rebel Pro on a stone sheep hunt in the Yukon. Jason and I went on, and basically my quest was kind of like, I'm going to find the lightest mountaineering sheep hunting capable boot that I can find, and that's what I started with, and that Uli Steck had designed, rest his soul, he just actually passed away on Everest, had designed this boot as the lightest weight technical mountaineering boot in the world. And so I got that boot and started with that. It wasn't very durable. I went through three pairs in one fall. They're like $450 a piece. So they were designed to be super. They were basically throwaway boots, but they were super lightweight. And then we started getting some prototype stuff with heavier rand, little lighter sole, a little more easy to break in sole, more durable. So it's a great boot, fully synthetic. It's got sock fit. If you haven't tried sock fit from Scarpa, it basically eliminates the tongue. It's like I said, I'm if you can tell, I'm pretty happy with the boot. Again,
Yeah,
being
explain
involved
sock
in the
fit
design, I'm really happy with it, with how it turned out. But sock fit basically eliminates the tongue. You have the tongue overlaps and flaps and stuff that you have to tuck into a boot when you tighten it up. Sock fit is just like what it sounds like. You just slide into it. It's like a sock. It's a heavy stretch fabric that basically eliminates the tongue. It's got a small tongue, but I've just found it to be way more comfortable.
Now, Brendan, just to be clear, I mean, for lack of a better term, you're testing and guinea pigging a lot of this stuff, but you're the first guy to be like, this sucks, I don't like this, I don't like that, like, we need to change this, we need to change that. Like, this isn't one of those things that, you're drinking your own Kool-Aid. Like, I've heard you where you're like, yeah, I thought this was going to be really good, and this piece didn't turn out like I thought. Let's go back to the drawing boards. And that's one thing I've talked with Jason about before. It's like that impresses me, looking from the outside, looking in, seeing how you guys literally you nitpick every little thing, and where you're taking the gear, it has to work for you, and if it doesn't work for you, you go back and find something that will, correct?
Yeah, they call me black and white. I either like it or I don't, and I definitely am not a yes man when it comes to gear on stuff that I like. I mean, it either works and it's either comfortable or it's not. I mean, it doesn't help anybody to improve anything by grabbing everything and saying, yeah, it fits great or looks great. And everybody has their different preferences and stuff, how it feels with them and body type and all that. But yeah, I'm pretty hard on our stuff. Somebody's going to break it. It's probably going to be me, and especially like the prototype stuff. We get after it as far as the actual testing for what it's going to be used for. We ultimately want to take our gear to where use it for ourselves in the worst conditions that any customer could possibly ever take it, and then we feel really comfortable bringing it to market. And so that's why we do what we do. We want to take it out. I mean, whether it's glacier stuff. I mean, I had guys say, why do you always got crampons on or an ice axe or whatever? It's like, that's where we're at. I mean, glacier hunting, super rainy, nasty stuff. That's where you're going to find out how it's going to perform. So yeah, I'm pretty hard on the gear, and like I said, I'm just thrilled with how this these new boots came out, and we have three new sets of boots now. That one's pretty easy that anybody can break in. Phenomenal boot called the R Evolution. We have the Rebel K, which is the one that I'm running most of the time, and then the Rebel Ultra, which has got a built-in gaiter that has just a super cool feature where if you're doing a ton of stream crossings with the Rebel Ultra, you can run this loose gaiter that is still attached to the boot that comes up a little bit up to your ankle. You can run it high up your calf, and then your rain pants would go over that. Obviously, be wearing regular pants, but your rain pants would go over that down to as low in the boot as you can go, and then you can run your gaiter up over the top of those two, and then you can put a strap around it and it basically makes it watertight if you keep moving for any kind of stream crossing. So those three boots are really thrilled with how they've come out.
Yeah, and the going back to the R Evolution, that's going to be more of a lower 48, more of mule deer hunts, elk hunts, turkey hunts, hunts that are, not as physically demanding, more of an everyday hiker boot, right? I have both the R Evolution and the Rebel Ks on order. Should be getting them here pretty soon, and I can't wait to try them out. But is that categorizing the R Evolution pretty good in that it's, it's an everyday hiker type boot. It's a lot of lower 48 hunts, but then once you step up more into the, more severe terrain and steeper terrain and what have you, that's when the Rebel K really starts to shine.
Yeah, the R Evolution boot should be able to basically anybody should be able to break it in. It's got sock fit, which is awesome. Like I said, when people try sock fit from Scarpa, and obviously that's not something that's they're one of the best boot manufacturers in the world, but it's a revolutionary thing when you try on a boot, and you just have to take my word for it and give it a try. As far as comfort goes and slipping into a pair of boots that's going to fit your feet, they're phenomenal. And yeah, that's a boot that most anybody can break in. I mean, one thing we've ran into is there's really stiff boots are hard for people to like, and we've had some boots that I really like that are a little bit too stiff for most people because they've kind of overdone what they need. I always say you don't break a super stiff boot in; you break your foot into a super stiff boot. I mean, the first couple months I wore a true mountaineering boot, a tech mountaineering boot. It just feels weird, but once you get in really, really steep terrain, solid rock, giant granite faces, whether you're wearing it with crampons or just climbing nasty stuff that gives way, like that's where you can truly appreciate a really stiff boot. So the R Evolution is going to be a boot that just about anybody can wear for any conditions, especially down here. It's easier to break in, but again, fully synthetic is going to dry faster, really comfortable fit. So I think you're really going to like that boot.
Good. One thing I didn't hear, and maybe I just didn't hear it, was in your kit when you were talking about it. I heard you talk about the Chugach rain gear, but I didn't hear what pant on typical thin horn hunts. What pant that you?
Yeah, we kind of skipped. We went to the top. Now I'll go to the bottom. Pant lower layers that I wear. So we went through the boots there. Boots, gaiter. I wear. Most hunts I take the attack pants. If it's going to be super hot, I'll take the Tiburon. If it's going to be cold, late season, bighorn hunting, the guide pant. If you like knee pads, we have the Chinook and the Alpine, which is another variation of that. I've taken those on hunts as well. But the attack pant is kind of your go-to pant. It's stretch woven, light, dries quick. That's kind of your all-around. That's what I think. The majority of my sheep hunts, that's what I've worn. So attack pant, belt. The full zip long underwear, I'd never go anywhere without them. If you haven't tried those, tried those, you're really missing out.
What weight do you typically go with, Brendan? There's two different weights. What weight do you use?
Well, we have four. We have two synthetic and two merino. And I tend to take early season. I like the 145 merino full zip, and then late season I like the 200 Peloton synthetic. So just depends on the time of year and how cold it is. And then Chugach pant, full backpack sheep hunt, I take the Chugach pant. Now, if you were hunting the lower 48, because we get this a lot, like what's the Yukon, the Chugach, the Ultra. The Ultra is basically rain gear that you. I'm not going to say emergency rain gear because it's an awesome set. It's super light. It's not going to be as durable as the Chugach, but if you are going on a hunt, you might get rain 1 or 2 days. You're not expecting rain or to have to live in your rain gear. That's a great option, especially in the lower 48. On full backpack sheep hunt, I take the Chugach. A lot of guys like the Yukon. It's definitely heavier, more durable. So it just depends. Again, these are kind of personal preferences. I don't like pockets on my rain gear. I prefer just a real simple rain pant. So some guys like pockets. Just depends on what you like. We make something for everybody.
If you were going on a hunt that you were going to be doing a ton of brush busting and really working through the alders and the devil's claw and what have you, would you personally still wear the Chugach pant? Let's say you were, your whole hike in, it was going to be raining, or would you go with the Yukon in that situation personally?
I use the Chugach mainly, and again, I've never most of the time, if you're going to rip rain gear, it's doing something you're not hunting related, when it's getting in and out of a plane, moving gas, horses, something like that. A lot of times, if it's raining out, I will just wear long underwear and rain pants. I won't even wear my regular pants. I'll just keep them in my pack so they stay dry, or I can just drop a layer. So just depends on the hunt. Like I said, I prefer that pant the most. I mean, I wear the Yukon a lot more late season, and then and guiding stuff that you're doing lots of work. Just you need it to be more durable.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I'll go through the stuff in my pack. So again, we're talking about a 10-day sheep hunt. I'm running the Icon Pro 7200. That's the pack I like. I always carry my own glass, so it's got the spotting scope pockets. I'm even on a sheep hunt up north, I'm still carrying my 95 or my 80 swirl and a full tripod. It's a 8-pound hit, but for me, I like to glass my own sheep. I like to know what I'm looking at. I feel naked without having my own spotting scope and tripod. So I'm running the 7200 Icon Pro, gun holder, bow holder, basically depending on what you're doing. As far as degree of bag, I either run a 15 or a 0 or a 30, depending on, early season NWT. It's supposed to be pretty nice. You're not going to get horrible weather. 30 is great. October, November, Montana, 0-degree bag, got to have it. The NeoAir sleeping pad, whether you take it insulated or uninsulated, kind of depends on the time of year. I carry a 3-liter water bladder in my pack, Havalon knife, headlamp, the new Petzl we're carrying. I have all my gear. Every single piece of gear that I have is in a roll top dry bag. I probably have 6 of them in my pack. I just don't believe in letting anything get wet. I carry.
And they're so light.
Oh, they weigh not 1 ounce. I mean, they weigh nothing.
Bags
yeah. But I have everything in a dry.
So do you compartment? Do you put those in? Categorize them and have them in different.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Yeah, like for example, like my super down. So a super down pant and super down jacket are 2 things that I have. Whether I'm going to the NWT in July, or whether I'm hunting in late October in Montana or in New Mexico or whatever, I have a super down jacket and a super down pant on me 100% of the time. I put it in our medium stuff sack, and I have it at the bottom of my pack all the time. I mean, no matter what I'm doing, it's basically like an extra sleeping bag if you had an emergency, if you just got chilled down, no matter what. It's just one thing that I always have in my pack, no matter what. I have not went on a hunt in the last, since we started making that stuff, that I didn't have that with me. I've had to sleep out 3 or 4 different times. It makes a night that's would be normally just completely miserable, not that bad. So that's 100% that's in my pack, and generally at the bottom in a waterproof bag. And then like I have, whether it's gloves, a hat, kind of incidental stuff, my med kit, all that kind of stuff I have in one bag with some other stuff. I have my food bag. I have, one for my camera, one for everything I'm carrying. Basically anything I have is going to be, unless it's totally waterproof, is going to be in one of the small bags in one of the pockets. Even on the top, in the lid I carry tags, camera, all that kind of stuff. It's all got its own bag.
Okay. And because of that, because of having everything in a bag, do you carry the rainfly for the pack as well?
I do. I carry the rainfly for a couple of reasons. One, when it's really pounding, it's really nice to have. And 2, I like to leave my pack outside of my tent, so I can get in and out of it easily at night. And the nice thing about the rain cover, it's 2 or 3 ounces, I believe. And you can just wrap your whole pack, your bow, your rifle, whatever you got with you, all your stuff, your boots, you can put it under, and you can leave it out and know that it's not going to get rained on, because I like to have a little, some extra room in my tent. I don't like my stuff laying on top of me, so I kind of organize everything when I get set up to camp for the night, and get everything under that pack cover and wrap everything up so it's not going to get wetter, or not going to get wet throughout the night. Mm-hmm. And then, on one thing, everybody has a few things that they take that are kind of convenience type thing. One thing, I always bring my own tent. I don't like sleeping with anybody else. I've ended up twice with somebody who snores, which is just a complete nightmare. I'm not a light sleeper either, and to keep me awake is pretty tough. But I always take my own tent. I sleep by myself. It's nice for unless you're on the Chugach hunt I did with Johnny Rydeen, we were loaded and we were deep, and we had one Storm Star tent that we slept in together. It was fine. You can do it. That tent's a little wider and is good for that. But if you have the choice, I take a Mountain Star 2-man and use it just by myself. That's kind of one convenient thing. My spotting scope, tripod, and my own tent are everything else is going to be as light as I can possibly get it. All the best stuff. But those three things are what I take on a hunt. That it's a convenience thing for me.
For sure. And sometimes that makes all the difference in the world, getting a really good night's sleep, having a little bit of time to yourself too. I mean, for me, I know always being able to just, kind of when you're sleeping next to someone, you feel like you can never really just kind of debrief and just kind of, melt down, if you will. And it's just something about being able to be on your own for a little bit of,
What?
6-8 hours is a huge deal.
I've found that like when you really get stuck in a tent, like I've had sheep hunts, one in 2012 where on a 10-day hunt I spent 7 full days in the tent. And I was really glad I had my own tent on that occasion because, it was fog to the ground, raining like crazy, snowing, spitting. You couldn't be outside. And to be cramped in that kind of a situation, if you knew it was going to be nice and you were only going to be sleeping in the tent when you went in for the night, not that big of a deal. But, the fact that you could spend, 100 hours straight in your tent, it's just nice to have your own tent. Just
for sure.
And that's basically my system, obviously, of stuff that we make. And then, I always take my own food. Jason and I are both the same. We basically pre-make all our own food, stuff that we like to eat. I take it no matter how I'm going on. I mean, most outfitters have great food. I've never been to a place where I thought, oh, yeah, that would have been terrible. But it's just an extra level of comfort. I know exactly what my pack's going to weigh. I know exactly what I'm going to eat every day. I know exactly how to ration what I've got, and I don't have to worry about, preference and taste on anything. So it costs a little bit extra to do, but I always take my own food all the way.
I think on a separate podcast episode, I think going over your exact food list, I think guys would really find value in that, and I think we can cover that on another episode, and I think it will have a lot of value if you don't mind sharing what you carry. But I think that's something like this mountain goat hunt that I'm going on. I'm going to take that advice. I'm definitely each of us are taking our own Mountain Stars, and I think bringing your own food is huge because then you know how it is when you're either sharing food or you're relying on someone else. There's always going to be something that maybe you miss or maybe your body doesn't agree with, and so I think that will make a great podcast episode on its own. So if you will, we'll go over that another time. Trekking poles or no trekking poles? I hear you talk about ice axe. I'm a big trekking pole user. Is there some hunts that you would use trekking poles and others that you would only use an ice axe?
Yeah, glacier type hunting, you need an ice axe. If you're going to have to self-arrest, it actually is a safety tool. I think some guys look at it and go, oh, he's just using it because it looks cool. Like I've actually had to self-arrest on a goat hunt in Alaska. In 2011, like it's a safety tool. It's nice in super steep areas to be able to pick out your sleeping spot or clean an area out where you're taking care of an animal or anything like that. I mean, an ice axe is great. I kind of vary, depends on the hunt. I prefer trekking poles. I feel like I get more out of two trekking poles than I do. In the Yukon trip last year, I took 2 trekking poles. Jason took the ice axe, and it's one of those things where you always, hey, can I borrow your ice axe to dig my spot out and make sure it's flat? So I think I'm going to run an ice axe this year, but either way, having the ice axe or a trekking pole is a huge benefit. It takes the weight off you. You just find that you can carry weight better. It's more of it's a safety thing too. I mean, you can, when you're falling down or helping yourself get up, it's just a handy thing to have. So I've always got one or the other.
I think we covered that pretty good, don't you?
Yeah, I think we're going to probably set a new record on time here,
huh? So. Yeah, it's good stuff though. Brendan, the KUIU Mobile Showroom this weekend, I believe, is in
Seattle.
Portland, Oregon. Oh,
Yep.
Seattle,
Yep.
Washington. And I wanted to go over here. Seattle is June 8th through the 10th. Spokane is the 15th through the
Yep.
17th. Missoula, Montana, June 22nd through 24th. Then Boise, Idaho Falls, and then Bozeman. You are going to be in Seattle the 8th through the
Yep.
10th. Is that
Yeah, I'm leaving
correct?
this weekend. I'm going to go out and give them a hand. And yeah, it's been the response has been unbelievable. We've had tons of people showing up. The lines, I understand, have been it's been a little bit crowded, and which is awesome. So I'm going to go out and give them a hand, see if I can assist them a little bit. I'll actually be at Seattle, Missoula, and Bozeman. So if anybody's in the local area, come by and say hi. And yeah, it's really cool to see. I was down at the main office when we rolled it out, and it's pretty damn impressive. What they've done with that showroom, and it's just cool to see. And for anybody that is, we just went over my gear list. You can come in and try everything on, see what fits, see what you like, walk through a system, kind of put it together and see. Oh, okay, that's how that works. The one negative on Consumer Direct or a place you can't put your hands on it, and is that you can't see it, and that's why we're going out with this. Is you can come in and put your hands on it and talk to somebody that knows and try the boots on. I definitely encourage anybody to try having a boot system on, and I think they're going to love them.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, the ability to see exactly, are you an XL or are you a large, specifically try on every piece of gear. The beauty of the mobile showroom, correct me if I'm wrong, is every piece of gear that KUIU sells is there. So I mean, people can literally touch and feel and try on and get to know every piece there, be able to say, do I like the feel of synthetic? Do I like the feel of merino wool? What's this difference between the KUIU Kenai jacket and the Super Down? Like, what size am I in? I know people always have a little bit of trepidation about, if they can't touch it and feel it, see it. It's sometimes difficult to
Yep.
know exactly what size, and that's the true benefit of the
We
mobile
have
showroom.
everything we make in every size. So if you want to try on, a Peloton 240 from the smallest size to 3X, we have it with everything. I mean, pants, everything. Every single item we make in every single size. So you can specifically try on, my 32 or a 34 in attack pants. My medium or a large in Super Down or a 3X. So we have every single thing we make in every single size. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And if you guys want to know where the mobile showroom is next, you can go to KUIU.com. You can go and I also will be doing, I have been doing for the last couple weeks on every podcast trying to get 3 or 4 cities out so that people are aware of what's coming. And you could also go on my Instagram page. There's a picture, but KUIU.com to get that schedule. And Brendan and I understand Jason will be at a few of them and a bunch of the other staff. So it's awesome that you guys are doing that, and it's a great just more things from KUIU, transparent with their customers and bringing it right to you guys specifically. So it's, I think, hugely important. Brendan, it's been awesome having you on here talking about sheep hunting. I know that we could probably spend days talking about all this stuff, and we will in coming months, but this gives a pretty good understanding if someone was interested in getting into sheep hunting. I think this is a pretty good baseline, or set some ground rules for people that want to get into it and learn more about it. And certainly, your success as a sheep hunter, having harvested 8 rams, you've been there, you've done that. You've also guided for some of the largest rams. And I think it's hugely important for people to take note of guys like yourself that, you don't just talk about it, you actually do it, and then you talk about it. I think that's where the value is in, KUIU Ultralight Hunting, is you and Jason go on these hunts every single year, and you don't just talk about it. And I think that is why KUIU has been as successful as it is, because you guys, you're not, there's nothing fake about KUIU. There's nothing fake about you and Jason, and you're simply going to use the best products that you can possibly create. My hat's off to you guys for, doing what you've done with that company. But you would probably say that it's just what you do. It's you're going to do it regardless, because you want the best gear. You want to use personally the best gear out there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Jay. That's nice of you to say. And yeah, I mean, we do it because that's what we love to do. Again, I don't have any other hobbies. This is, with sheep and elk hunting, that's really all I do, and it seems pretty one or two dimensional, but that's really the only thing that I really love doing. So yeah, I mean, we're always trying to improve, and the only way you get really good at something is doing a lot of it, whether it's going on your own hunts or guiding hunts or assistant hunts or whatever. It's a totally unique thing, and like I said, it's hunting sheep is one of those things where it gets lumped into a rich man's thing, but it's not. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there for the guy that's willing to hustle or go along or get out there and go on a sheep. They say, you'll know whether you're a sheep hunter after your first sheep hunt or not. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. So it's one of those things where you get out there and do it, and that's what we love doing, and that's what I'm going to do again this fall.
Yeah, awesome. So looking forward in your forecast for the hunts you have coming up, will you shoot one more sheep this year or possibly two?
Things get lucky. I don't know how the draw's going to turn out. I've been rejected everywhere. Like you said, I'm hoping you got a little intuition there on Arizona, but hopefully one, we're hunting stone sheep August 1st. Really excited about that hunt, and then I'm actually trying to line up another hunt between now and then, or after then. I'm still waiting for a few draws to come out and a few tags and see how things work. But I'll definitely be hunting sheep this fall at least once, and guiding a few hunts and going on a few hunts here in Montana and a couple other places. So hopefully see a few big rams on the ground this fall. But yeah, really looking forward to hunting stone sheep with Jason in August. It's going to be an awesome hunt. And, yeah, we'll see how she goes.
Okay, buddies. Well, sounds good. Thanks for sharing with us here, and thanks for bringing all that value and knowledge to the podcast. And I just appreciate all that you guys do, and just always enjoy talking to you. And it's always a good time for me because I can learn a lot. And I'm excited for my own first sheep hunt in 2018, and excited for this goat hunt here this August, and so yeah, it's good times and exciting times for sure. So until then, buddy, God bless, and I'll see you down the road. And definitely those people that are looking to get to Seattle, Washington, to the KUIU Mobile Showroom, definitely go look Brendan up and bend his ear, and I know you'll get a lot of value out of talking to him.
Thanks, Jay. I really appreciate what you do for us, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing how both your hunts go. Obviously, the goat is going to be really cool. They're super underrated, and yeah, your first sheep hunt will definitely it'll be cool. So thanks again, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon.